much detail. There we go. Now I'm going to take my white crayon and I'm just going to add short little horizontal dashes because I want to show that the sun is reflecting off of the water. So I'm going to do this with some other colors also so that you're going to be able to see it on camera. I'm going to do a little bit of yellow. And I'm just going the width of the sun, so I'm kind of staying within here. And I think it's going to get narrower as it comes down, kind of like an upside down triangle. Alright, I am going to start adding my marker watercolor. So very lightly I'm going to add my colors in here. Maybe give my boat a shadow in front of it. I'm just using the marker on its side, touching it to the paper very lightly. Because I've already got a lot of crayon down here, it's only going to stick to where the paper is. So I'm using my marker a little bit more like a paintbrush. Just tapping my colors, and I think I've just about got this where I want it. I think it's going to blend pretty well. Alright, and just like last time, as soon as I'm done with the marker, I want to go ahead with my water. The more time you give it in between, the less this is going to move. And if you didn't want to do the water, you don't have to. You don't have to take a paintbrush and move the marker around. You could fill in those white spots more with crayons or colored pencils. It's up to you. Use what you have around the house. There we go, that's going to look beautiful. So after I get done with this, I'm going to take another break. It's going to take about 20 or 30 minutes for this to dry. And I'm going to come back and work on my land and my details. I've still got a whole lighthouse to make yet. It is now the next day. My paper's had time to dry, and I'm going to begin working on my cliff area. I've decided that I want to try using color pencils, so I've chosen some colors that I thought would be good for earth, dirt, rock, all that stuff. I'm going to start with a medium tone to just color over the cliff area. So I'm going to outline it. When I color, I try and make it nice and smooth. I don't want to put a really heavy layer on there. I'm not pressing super hard. You can see that I'm not leaving any gaps or lines. And I'm trying to color in all the same direction. So I want you to work on your cliff. Don't forget that space back there. Okay, I have finished trying to cover this area on the cliff pretty evenly with a light color pencil. Now I'm going to go in and start building up my shadow areas. I'm going to start with this little area in the front, and I'm just using a regular brown color pencil. And I want to make it look like this little part is coming forward and this curve is sinking back a little bit. So all I'm doing is pressing with about medium pressure. I'm not pressing very hard. The darker color is going right over top of the lighter brown. I'm going to come over about an inch or so, or until my next line. Then I'm going to go back over to where I started, and I'm just going to color a little bit harder. If I want to make this very dramatic, I can even blend just a little bit of black into the shadow area. I don't want to use too much black. I want to kind of keep it for just a little bit of drama. So I think I'm going to go up and do my land. It's a little further away. And I'm going to have a lot of shadow in this one. Alright, continue adding your shadows. Real quickly, we're going to go over a highlight. If I want to make an area look like it sticks out, I want to make that a little bit lighter. And I can do that two ways. I can use my eraser and erase a little bit of my color. That's going to make it lighter. Or I could blend in a lighter color too. So I used a little bit of peach as a lighter color, or if you have a white color pencil, you can try blending in a little bit of white. So I want you to continue with shadows and highlights and finish up your cliff. Alright, I have been working on my shadows and highlights for a couple of minutes, and I think that looks pretty good. I can always add just a little bit of texture here and there, because of course a cliff would not be smooth. Okay, I am going to finish off the top of my cliff, and you're probably wondering where my lighthouse is. We're going to make that on a separate piece of paper, so I just have a little 2-inch piece of paper here that I'm going to make my lighthouse on in just a little bit. So I have my color pencils, and I think I'm going to add a little bit of shadow to the back of my flatter land here. So I'm just going to put down a little bit of brown. Again, I'm trying to color in one direction and make it pretty even. That's just a little bit of shadow there. You can decide if yours Your land is going to be kind of rocky, if it's going to be grassy. It's up to you. I think that green is looking pretty bright, so I think I want to maybe calm it down just a little bit further with some brown. Even though my other colors are pretty bright too, I still want to make that green just a little less vibrant. There you go. When I layer a couple of colors together, it's looking much better to me. So kind of go back and forth with your colors, putting them together. When I make a lighthouse, I have to think about what shapes make up a lighthouse. It's going to be a cylinder shape. I also don't want to make it really, really tall because it's got to fit into my drawing, which is not on a very big piece of paper. So I'm going to use my fingers, and I think that should be plenty tall enough. So I'm going to make a little mark on my paper right between my fingers. These are my guide marks. I don't want to go any taller than that. So a lighthouse is going to begin as a cylinder. So at the base, right where my first guideline is, I'm going to start by making a curved line. I need to make the two sides of the body, and I want to leave some room at the top for the light. I'll try to do my straight lines. It's going to get a little bit narrower towards the top, and it's wider at the bottom. Okay, that looks pretty even. I'm going to close up the top with a curved line and make another little cylinder. This is going to be kind of like the catwalk that the lighthouse keeper can walk on, check the weather, check the light, look out for boats, and we're going to finish it with another curved line. I'm not going to put any details on it quite yet. I do want to make a railing here too. This is going to be the light portion of the lighthouse. It's just about as wide as the body of the lighthouse. It's also a cylinder shape, so the top of it needs to be curved. And I'm going to put the roof on, and I've just made it up to my guideline right there. Now I can start putting the details on here, and I have linked pictures of lighthouses and different types of boats onto right before this slide. If you want to check those out, you can pause the video to help you draw your lighthouse. I like the lighthouses that have the curves or the stripes on them. Kind of makes them look like big candy canes. So I'm going to do a couple of curved stripes to start my lighthouse. For my details, I'm going to finish off my railing like it's going around the back of the lighthouse with two little curves. And let's see, I think I want to kind of square off my roof with some straight lines. That looks pretty nice. You can decide how many details you put into it. Now remember, this is from a ways away, so I'm not going to draw the lighthouse keeper smiling with buttons on his coat. I think that looks pretty good. You can decide if it has some windows in it. And you can decide if you can see the door, or maybe the door faces the other direction, and that's just fine too. Now you're going to want to color this before you cut it out, so you need to choose your colors, and I want you to try some shading when you do this. So I want my stripes to be red and white. I'm going to do a little bit of brown for my shadows on the red stripes. So I'm going to start on the edge. My light is going to be coming from the right side here. So the left side is going to have the shadow. So I'm starting my shadow in this stripe on the left side away from the light. And I press just medium with my brown. And then I press lighter, then lighter, then lighter, till I got about to the middle of the lighthouse. Now I'm going to take my red color pencil and let's see, I'm going to try mahogany first. I'm going to blend it right into my shadow. I'm going to let those mix together. There we go. Oh, here's my sharpened red color pencil. Now I want it to get lighter as I go over to this right side. So I'm going to press just a little bit lighter so I can blend in a little bit of pink. You could also blend in with your white, or some sets have light red. There we go. So I've gone from my shadow to my highlight. I want to do that same thing in my white stripes too. If you don't have a gray color pencil, that's okay. Your pencil has gray lead in it, and you can definitely shade with that. So I'm starting on the left side just like I did the right stripe. I'm not going to press as hard this time. I'm pressing pretty lightly until about at the middle. I'm not even touching with my color pencil at all. So I'm going to go ahead and continue shading my lighthouse and adding or finishing the details. Alright, I have finished shading my lighthouse. My shadow is consistently on the left side, my highlights on the right side, even up here on the roof. I'm ready to cut it out next. Alright, I have finished cutting out my lighthouse. You can see it's not attached yet. And I'm going to make the decision on where to attach it now. If I put it over here, it looks okay, but it kind of looks a little scary, like you might walk out of your lighthouse right off the cliff. So I think I'm going to move it back. I don't want to cover up this detail right here. So when you're choosing where to put your lighthouse, take a moment and decide. I think this looks like a pretty good spot here. I'm going to use just a little bit of glue to glue it down. I don't want the glue to squish out. Now once I have it glued down, I've just got two more tiny details to do. The shadow is one of those. It's pretty important. I'm going to use blue for my shadow. My light is coming from the right side over here, so my shadow is going to go right off the paper on the left side. Now my lighthouse is not glued down, so you might want to wait a couple of minutes until your glue has had a chance to stick and you don't end up moving your lighthouse around. So my shadow is directed away from the sun, and it's going to go around the bottom of the lighthouse. I don't have a shadow over here on the right hand side, just the left hand side away from the sun. And I am just adding blue, or you could have black or a gray. but I'm coloring over the grass. You can still see the texture of the grass through the shadow. A shadow's not a black hole. You can decide how strong your shadow's going to be. My shadow is going to go off the edge of my paper because the light's very low in the sky. The shadow would be very long. Now I can add any other details that I might have, like how my lighthouse keeper gets made a path in and out of the lighthouse. I can add that in and finish it up. So look at those pictures, make this your own Impressionist style artwork. And here was the inspiration picture again from Claude Monet, and here's what I ended up with. So you can see I have a little bit of similarity. I have the water and sky and the cliff, but then I've also made it my own. Make sure you take a picture of your project. I've put a YouTube video on the stream, on the 5th grade stream, that you can look at, and it teaches you how to take a picture and turn it in as an assignment to your Google Classroom. And make sure you get those turned in by September 30th.